From transportation to fire protection to the Great Park to GOP politics, Jeff Lalloway is in the thick of it. What are his thoughts on the county's big issues? And why is he feuding with Irvine's mayor and some other fellow Republicans? Irvine Council member Jeff Lalloway, next on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by 5 Point. 5 Point is an independent real estate development company with assets under management across California. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming. Hi, I'm Rick Reiff. Welcome to Inside OC. Well, pick an issue in Orange County, and chances are Jeff Lalloway's got an opinion, and quite possibly a vote. He sits on the Irvine City Council, the OC Transportation Authority, and the OC Fire Authority. He's treasurer of the County Republican Party and a vice chairman of the State Party. But he's no yes man. In fact, he's been feuding lately with some fellow Republicans, all of which we'll get into right now. Joining me, Irvine City Council member Jeff Lalloway. Jeff, great to have you on.
Thank you, Rick.
We've talked about doing this, so I'm glad we're finally doing it.
Finally.
So before we get into some of the political stuff, let's talk about the big project in Irvine, the Great Park. Are things finally happening?
First of all, let me welcome you back to Orange County. I think you're a valued treasure here, and I'm very excited personally and for the county that
you're talking about the show coming back.
The show coming back.
I've been here all the time.
I understand.
All right.
The show's coming back.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.
Terrific.
So the Great Park, it is very exciting right now to be in Irvine with all that's happening at the Great Park. A couple years ago, we approved a major plan to develop 688 acres, and that is going to be opening in the fall. We're going to start to be opening part of it, which we're going to have eventually, when it's completed, 24 soccer fields. We're going to have 25 tennis courts, 12 baseball and softball fields for kids. We're going to have some mountain bike trails. We're going to have some wooded areas for hiking. There's going to be a whole lot of different things over there. The most exciting thing, frankly, for me, because I'm a hockey fan, is the fact that the Ducks are going to build 4 ice rinks at the Great Park, and one of which will be their practice facility. So the Ducks will practice at the Great Park.
And so folks can come to the Great Park, and will there be like admission? They can watch them practice, that kind of thing?
They still have to work that out, whether they'll charge them or not. I assume they may charge them for practice, but yeah, they'll be able to come and watch their heroes practice at the Great Park.
Terrific. So so finally, after all these years of nothing happening, very soon there will be some facilities there for folks.
Yes.
Meanwhile, lots of homes going up around the Great Park too, and now the council just approved some additional. Talk about that. There's going to be more offices, commercial property going up there.
Well, 5 Point Communities is going to be developing homes around the Great Park. That was always the plan, and with that, there's commercial and there's going to be retail, which will be opening very soon. So it's going to be just basically another community in the city of Irvine. We have these hubs and spokes, basically, that the Irvine Company has built for years. Beautiful, beautiful communities, and we're going to have another one at the Great Park.
Okay, so homes, businesses, sports fields, the Ducks. Is there ever going to be, there had been a lot of talk at one time about museums and things like that. Is that ever going to happen out there?
Yeah, we're planning that right now. That's the next phase, which is the last 500 acres of the park. We're planning right there what it should be and what it will be. Part of it will be a museum. Part of it will be an amphitheater. As you may know, the Verizon Amphitheater will be closing in, I believe, next year, and we want to transition it over to the Great Park with a brand new state-of-the-art facility. So there's a lot of things on the table. We have to get past, frankly, what the county's doing. The County of Orange is holding up many of our plans for developing further. We have difficulty developing the amphitheater, for example, that the county wants to develop on the 100 acres that they own at the Great Park, a development that I compare to the city of Manhattan in 100 acres. 2,200 units, 1 million square feet of commercial. It would be packed, and it prevents us from moving forward and planning the amphitheater specifically at the Great Park.
Oh, so the city of Irvine and the county of Orange are arguing over issues like density and who's going to get what?
Well, what it should be. I will suggest to you that the park should be that, a park, and not a place where residential is built. That was always the idea when El Toro was closed, that it would be a park. That's what people voted on. and not to be a residential community
Okay.
right on top of it by the county.
Okay, so that's an issue still to be determined and
It
worked
is.
out.
It
Okay.
is.
And to get to this point, it only took $200 million plus in plans and drawings and things that have drawn a lot of controversy. The city did an audit. I think you were very much in favor of this forensic audit, right?
Sure.
To see what was going on, where the money went. The report was done. It certainly seemed to be a contributing factor in the ouster of a longtime mayor, councilman, Larry Agron. Is anything going to come of this audit now? Is there going to be any attempt to, first of all, the audit, just briefly, what did the audit find?
The audit found that there were a number of poor planning opportunities. That, for example, they never had a budget initially when they started the project. They didn't really have controls on contracts. Change orders came in and they just kind of approved them to a big extent. No matter what the change order that was needed, it was approved. I would hope that in the future we're able to get our contracting and what we do, how we do it in the city of Irvine under control, and take the lessons from what the audit showed us and take them to heart. Last year I authored Measure V, which created some controls over it, but I think we need to take what the audit showed us and really put some muscle into what we should do as a city.
At the time that the audit was launched, a lot of talk that, they're going to find where money was misspent. They're going to find lots of money that the city can go after and try to recoup. Maybe, there was even talk, who knows, maybe a criminal charge could come out of all this. Is anything like that going to happen, or is this now just on a shelf and it's the end of it?
Well, we learned lessons from it. And I think going around the city, all of us in the city council, we heard from our constituents, where did the money go? How do you spend $250 million and have what we have out there? Where did it go? And we definitively told the public through the audit where that money went. It was poorly spent, it was mismanaged. Was any of it stolen? No, it's all there. But there were bad decisions made, and I've criticized those decisions repeatedly.
Do you think, do you feel after seeing this audit that there is any basis for filing criminal charges against anyone?
That was not a recommendation in the audit, so I can only go by what our professionals told us, and the answer is no.
All right. Is there any feeling that there's money to be gotten? You don't have to bring criminal charges. You can sue somebody and say we want to reclaim $10 million, $20 million. Is anything like that going to happen?
There's the possibility of that. I don't know if we really want to get into that.
Do you want to
get
into that?
Probably not. I think we need to move forward as a city and look to the future instead of trying to sue people for things they may or may not have done. And they're expensive. Lawyers, as I'm one, are expensive, and there's no certainty of recovery.
You're talking $200 million.
Poor decisions. Poor decisions were made. Were they criminal? Probably not. Are they something you could sue someone for? Maybe, maybe not, but there's a cost-benefit analysis on that.
Okay. Some talk now about, as you know, recent controversy over whether the Great Park should be reincorporated. There was a time, initially, it was seen as a community endeavor. For the whole Orange County community. There were people from outside Irvine who sat on this board. The aforementioned Larry Agron decided that it should be brought within the city, so only the council controlled it. Now, is there any thought about bringing back a corporation? There had been that attempt. You voted against that. Explain that.
Well, we are a corporation. There's the Great Park Board, which is a corporation of which only the 5 members of the city council sit on. So in my opinion, it's kind of a ruse. It's really not real.
Right.
It's the city's money. We use the city's employees. It's city property. It's a city decision. Like it or not, it's the city of Irvine's decision. I think ultimately I'm accountable to the voters. I'm accountable for people if I make bad decisions with regard to what we do at the Great Park. So it should be my choice, my decision, my vote as to what we ultimately do. With that said, I think we do need more public input. I'm in favor, and I've stated this publicly, that we need to go out to the public more to find out what they would like. There was a situation at one of our community centers where we developed plans to go forward, And then at the last minute, the residents of the city said, well, we'd like this instead. And no one ever even thought about that. So I'd like to see that be avoided, and let's go forward and have some open meetings with the public. I sit on the OCTA board. I was formerly the chairman. I'm sure you're going to get into that. But we do a lot of outreach to the public to find out what they want. We're very open to what the public want. That's why I'm there, frankly. Right. And so we need to be more open to what the public wants to hear.
But the idea of reestablishing, and I guess from the city standpoint, it might absolve you of some legal liability if you have a separate Great Park board.
Well, we have a board right now.
Yeah, but right now, as you said, I think, didn't your attorney say the way it is right now, if they sued the Great Park board, they're suing the city because there's, it's clearly just a vehicle. It's a shell, if you will. But if you set it up for real, then you do have some protection.
Well, you can't. They're going to sue the city anyway, because ultimately it's going to be city property. So they're going to sue the city anyway. As a lawyer, I'm going to tell you, you're going to find the deep pockets to sue, and they're going to sue the city anyway. And it would require a change, go to the voters to change the way that everything is structured. It's not happening. As I've said before, I think there's certain council members that need the money. They need the stipend that we have on the city council, on the Great Park board. I'm in favor of doing away with it because the whole point of having it is absurd.
Okay, well, do you draw that stipend right now?
I do, but
But you're saying you'd be willing to get
I'm more than willing to give it up. We should. It would save money too, which I'm in favor of.
Okay, all right, okay. But not willing to go after all that money at the Great Park, right, on the audit.
Well, that's whether we have a cause of action or not.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about this dust-up you had. I made reference to some fellow Republicans not being thrilled with you right now, particularly the mayor, Stephen Choi. And this, you were on the selection committee for the AQMD, which is the big agency that monitors the air and the pollution. It's a powerful agency and a very important one in Southern California. Explain what happened there involving the mayor of Santa Ana and how this big kerfuffle all came about.
Well, I was appointed. Stephen Choi, our mayor, could not make it to the meeting, the city selection committee, where all the mayors vote on who would be on AQMD. So he sent me an email telling me to vote, and he didn't care how I voted. He didn't care if I voted for Miguel or voted for
and Miguel
Dwight.
Polito is the Democrat mayor of Santa Ana.
Correct. And Dwight Robinson, who was running against him, is the Republican council member from Lake Forest, a good friend and a great man. Both of them are friends, frankly. And so he didn't care how I voted. Out of nowhere, I got a call from the state party, and they told me, frankly, a lobbyist, they told me that they'd like me to vote a certain way. I hadn't even thought about it. It was a week away, and I told people that I needed to do my due diligence. I wanted to talk to Dwight, if nothing else. And I tried to get a little understanding about some of the ins and outs of what we were doing, because we've never politicized a vote here before. For example, for me to get on OCTA, I rely on Democratic votes. Tita Smith, the mayor of Orange, voted for me. So were we going down that path of politicizing every vote? And I just needed to understand this. In the interim, someone from the CRP or someone somewhere.
That's the California Republican Party.
Right, called someone somewhere, let's put it that way. I can't attribute it to anyone. Called our mayor. And next thing I know, I got an email saying that I've been removed. The problem I have is that Stephen Choi didn't call me or email me and ask me what was going on, how I was going to vote, whether he wanted me to vote a certain way. I'll chalk it up to bad communication on everyone's part. My political opponents tried to make it look like I was going to vote for a Democrat, which was never true at all. I just needed to talk to Dwight to find out what his positions were on certain things. I have a due diligence obligation to do at least a basic discussion with whoever's running for position.
So are you saying you would have voted for Dwight instead of Miguel?
I'm sure I would have voted for Dwight. I'm sure I would have. But my opponents quickly went to Stephen Choi and got him to remove me.
So and I could see some people, viewers out there saying, this is what we want elected officials to do. We want them to be open-minded. We want them to put politics aside and not just toe the party line. But when it comes to the AQMD, there are, as you know, a lot of businesses that feel the agency has been too restrictive. They've been harmful to business. As far as you know, Miguel, was he more, let's say, pro-environment and anti-business in his votes?
And that's a really good question. I hadn't yet started to look at what the votes were like yet. But from what I understand, Miguel had been a pretty decent vote. Not a great vote, but a decent vote on AQMD, as had Sean Nelson, our supervisor. I just hadn't even started to look at it yet. It was a week away. I have a lot of votes, a lot of things I'm involved in. I hadn't started to look at it yet, and it was a bit premature for me to commit my vote definitively one way or the other. And when I commit, I like to think I commit and my word is good. So I needed to talk to people, and I wasn't given that opportunity. I don't think that was fair, and we're humans. We make mistakes. Communications problems happen. I'll chalk it up to a communication problem.
Okay. Well, then let me ask, because as you know, it's been in the press, an email that you sent out right after the moment occurred. This was an email you sent to the mayor, Stephen Choi, and you say in part, I will be doing everything I can to make sure you lose in every race you ever run again. Say goodbye to your political career. Now, was that just heat of the moment, or did you really mean that you are going to make sure he is dead politically?
You're a very mean man for playing that, for reading that to me. You know, there's times where we send emails in anger, and I think we've probably all done it. And I've rarely sent an email in anger. I don't think I've ever done it. I usually sit on it. This is one email that I regret sending. I should not have sent it. I made a mistake. I would never send something like that again. And I learned my lesson. And everyone out there, if you have an email and you're about to send an angry email, let it sit overnight and send it in the morning. And I wouldn't have sent it. It was a mistake to send, and I'm sorry I sent that. Okay. Now, at the same time, I think it was unfair that Stephen fired me from the committee, removed me from choosing without talking to me either. And I was angry. Okay. I was upset. But I should not have sent that email.
And we should say that maybe a little bit of that anger is in your nature because you're from Atlantic City, right? So I mean, it's kind of the Chris Christie thing. You're just wearing it on your sleeve.
And
sometimes.
Donald Trump's from Atlantic City too. You know, he had some business dealings down there, so I should be more like them.
Okay. All right. So fair enough. Fair enough. You get cut some slack there. Okay. Of course, the interesting upshot from that whole AQMD thing was that by getting Miguel off and Robinson on, it swung the control by one vote of the AQMD to Republican representatives, if you will. And now the state decided, oh no, and they've made it a moot point, right? They're going to appoint the Democrats in Sacramento are going to put 3 more members on who are Democrats. So Republicans are still not going to have the control of AQMD.
And that was one of the issues I brought up, is that we do live in a Democratic state. And we need to understand that they can do this to us at any point. And I think it's better to play for big victories and win seats, win assembly seats, win Senate seats, go for statewide elections than, frankly, in my opinion, focusing on small seats like this where we basically poke the Democrats in the eye. And I kind of knew we would never win. And now poor Dwight is being subject to a recall in Lake Forest. And I imagine some of his political opponents that don't want him to be on AQMD are supporting him in that bid. Last night at the Central Committee, we actually voted to oppose the recall because we don't believe in Dwight being recalled. He's a strong Republican, as are the other 2 Republicans in Lake Forest. Dwight's a good friend. He'll make a great member of AQMD. But I also needed to determine what business-friendly air quality means. I was from the East Coast and I heard stories about what air quality was like in California. I don't want business-friendly air quality. I like human air quality. I want my 2 little daughters to grow up with good air quality in Southern California, and that's just what I wanted to ask Dwight. What does that mean to be pro-business air quality? There's a certain part of me that scares me a little. Yeah. I don't want pollution. I don't think any of us do. There's a balance, though, that needs to be drawn between killing jobs and killing people. And I wanted to make sure Dwight knew where that balance stood.
Right. So maybe this would have been a case where tactically keeping Miguel on would have kept everything peaceful. Miguel, as you say, sometimes he can be a moderating influence. And now you guys are really up the creek, the Republicans, as far as AQMD goes.
Where are we up the creek? There's a few places, but I'd like to start seeing some victories statewide.
Well, and you of course are, you referenced it, I referenced that you're a state official as well of the Republican Party. And so it's pretty tough. What in the world can a Republican do in California?
That's a great question. We're looking to win some seats. We're looking to hold, most importantly, this election to 2/3. We want to prevent the Democrats from getting 2/3 in the Senate and the Assembly, where they can increase taxes on California residents by just voting. Now they need Republican votes. They'll have to moderate it. And as we saw last year when they tried to raise the gas tax pretty significantly. The Republicans voted no on that and held firm, and the gas tax wasn't raised. There's some ideas about raising taxes this year, so the Democrats want nothing more than to take 2/3 in the legislature, so they don't have to moderate, they don't have to, play nice with the other folks in the sandbox. They just can institute whatever they want, and as we've seen, and I think we've seen everywhere, including at the national level, Bernie Sanders would raise our tax rates to a number I can't even count to. They want to raise taxes, and Republicans, we've held firm. Our residents, our citizens are taxed enough. I like to be able to afford to send my daughters to college. I need to save money.
Bernie, it'll be free if Bernie's in.
It'll be free.
You won't have to pay anything for
I'll
college.
pay a lot in taxes to put my kids through school, probably a lot more.
So what are the chances of holding the 2/3?
They're good. We've got a few races here in Orange County that are crucial. Ling Chang and Young Kim need to hold their seats in both the Assembly, and Ling needs to beat my old friend on the Irvine City Council, Suki Kang. Ling Chang.
Right, and Suki Kang.
And Suki Kang. So Ling needs to win that seat, which will be holding the Bob Huff seat, and then Young Kim needs to hold her seat.
But
Those
do you
are
think
two critical elections.
statewide, does it look, right now, if you had a bet, is it a toss-up, or does it look like the 2/3 will hold, or it'll go away?
It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. The Democrats are very good at getting their people out, especially in a presidential year, so it's going to be very close. I would really beg my friends that are Republicans to go out and vote. Don't protest, and go out and vote for your local legislature.
There's been a lot of talk about the Republicans doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu when it comes to the Senate race. As you said, tough being a Republican in California. No way that a Republican is going to get elected to the U.S. Senate to fill the, is it the Barbara Boxer seat? The Barbara Boxer seat. But that Loretta Sanchez, the more moderate candidate against Kamala Harris on the Democrat side, that she might get some Republican support. How do you feel? And is the party maybe going to assist Loretta indirectly?
Well, we have Republicans actually running for that seat. So hopefully one of the Republicans...
That's not what I asked, though.
This is my answer. One of the Republicans will get through to the general election, and then we won't have to worry about that. And you never know what happens in a general election. But no, Republicans will not help a Democrat. Even strategically voting, I think, would be a mistake. Vote for the Republican. Vote for two good, solid Republicans we have left in the race.
And you really mean that? I mean, you're telling me that, and you, because I have heard from a lot of Republicans that are saying that maybe we should just, the more moderate one would be better. So let's not be too aggressive in how we run this Senate.
I'm a movement conservative. I do believe in the conservative movement. So for me to pull a lever that has a D after it is a very hard thing for me to do.
All right. We mentioned OCTA. Tell us a little bit about OCTA, the big picture. How much is being spent on transportation in Orange County, and is it being well spent?
OCTA, of which I was the most recent chairman, I've left the chairman to Lori Donchuk in January, is one of the most well-run organizations I've ever seen. And it is the gold standard in Orange County for spending money and spending it efficiently and conservatively. It's a very well-run organization led by our CEO, Darrell Johnson. Great board of directors, 17 members, a lot of people, but we do come to really good decisions, and they're well-reasoned and well thought out. We have a lot of things going on. We spend billions and billions of dollars over the course of the different measures that come forward, and the voters voted on it. But to show how the confidence that people have in Measure M and in OCTA, almost 70% of voters voted to renew Measure M in 2006. It's almost impossible to get 70% of people to agree that the sky is blue.
Right.
And yet they voted to renew, self-tax themselves in Orange County.
And how much of that money is going in the roads?
Off the top of my head, I forget the exact roads number, but I think it's 40%, I believe, goes into roads. Now they're all going to be mad at me because I forgot the money.
But where's the other? Where does all the rest of it go?
Well, it goes into transit. So we do buses, we do Metrolink, so we do transit, we do local roads. For example, in Irvine, we're going to be doing a lot of signal synchronization, which is not easy to say, getting those lights synced up so you can go faster to where you're going. And we do a lot of we send money out to local communities to fix and build their local roads.
Okay.
So there's really 3 prongs of OCTA, including an environmental part where we send a lot of money. We do a lot of, we actually purchase open space to keep it open forever.
We only have a few seconds left. Very quickly, are you planning to run? What's next for you? Are you going to run for mayor? Are you going to run for mayor of Irvine?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. Mayor Choi is running for the 68th Assembly District, and much of it's going to be dependent upon Mayor Choi, what he does. But we'll see. We need a good candidate for mayor.
So you're not going to run just to end his political career. I'm just okay.
You're tough these days.
Okay. Finally, I don't think we have enough time. I wanted to mention that you're a divorce lawyer, right? That's what your day job is.
Yes, I actually do have a day job, believe it or not.
What's tougher, divorce lawyer or city council?
Being a divorce lawyer makes politics look easy. I'll tell you that.
Okay, Jeff, it was a great interview. Thanks
you, Rick.
so much. Well, that's it for now. Thanks again to my guest, Irvine Council member Jeff Lalloway. You can watch this show and past shows by going to pbssocal.org or rickreiff.com. You can also catch our shows in our post-show open mic chatter on YouTube. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by 5 Point. 5 Point is an independent real estate development company with assets under management across California. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming.